Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the podcast today. Are you curious for some simple ways to 10x your relationship? Now, this is a concept you might have heard a lot, and it can be overused, but it really is important because when you think about if you want to really have that deeply connected relationship that you want, the intimacy that you want, and the fun and playfulness that you want, and really the support that you need from one another, you have to work at it. And so we're going to talk about some simple tips today to 10x your relationship. This is my dear husband, Mark, here joining me today. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for coming back. We love each other. Anyways, enough of that. We are going to share one of the things that I think has really been so helpful for our relationship. And this is a tool that many know about, but many are intimidated to practice. And this is sacred sexuality. And I want to talk a little bit about that today because I think it's an amazing way to really expand your relationship, to connect more deeply. And listen, I get it if it feels intimidating at first, right? It can feel intimidating. It could feel like you might think there are these marathon rituals or sting or all these thoughts that we think of. But really what it's about is it's about really deepening your connection with one another, really merging together your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit, and really connecting really deeply in your relationship. And there's a lot of benefits to it we're going to talk about today. But, me, I grew up very conservatively, right? You've heard my story before, very much a good girl conditioning. And there was a lot of limiting beliefs around that. And this was one of the tools that really helped me overcome a lot of those, a lot of that people-pleasing tendencies. I'm not speaking up for my needs in the bedroom, not sharing what I want from you. Remember when we first got together, what'd you tell me about being a Pollyanna?
Stop being Pollyanna.
Yeah. How was that showing up? Do you remember?
I think everything was always too good. Just everything was just fine. Everything was just perfect, which was no feedback at all. You just kind of rolled with everything, but nobody's really like that. Yeah. And I didn't buy it.
That's one of the reasons I fell in love with him, because he didn't put up with that. He wanted to know the real me, the authentic me, not the one that I was taught to put out there for the world to see, right? And it's really deeply about connecting with your body and your own desires. This was something that I think each person has to work on individually.
Yeah.
To deepen your connection with your own body, your own health, your own needs. Can you speak to that a moment?
Yeah. I mean, you just have to, know what you want and then be willing to voice it and say it, which sometimes is a little embarrassing, a little bit difficult. Sometimes you don't even know what you want. And so once we started doing that, it just made all the difference in the world with our relationship.
Yeah. And it can be, it's very easy to want to please. This is something that we see a lot, and I see a lot with my clients, is this desire to please your partner, which is a wonderful thing, right? We want to please our partner, but to the extent of not paying attention to your own experience, right? Not tuning into your own pleasure, not knowing what that is, not knowing how to turn yourself on, not knowing what that entails. And I think when people pleasing shows up in the bedroom, a lot of times you are kind of putting on a show. Maybe you're not being authentic with your sounds or your movements or anything. You're more concerned about what you look like than you're feeling. And that's the shift that you need to make, right?
And I think that I pick up on that too, right? Like I'm getting a ton of pleasure out of this, but are you? Because I don't know when there's no communication or feedback.
Yeah. And the other big thing I think that's so key about sacred sexuality that really helped me is I didn't realize how closed my heart was. I really thought that I had opened my heart to Mark. When we got married, I was so in love and I thought, oh, this is the best. But then I realized I was just like scratching the surface. And I think so many couples out there are truly just scratching the surface of what is possible in their relationship. And this is why I'm so passionate about this work, because I see so many people struggle. So many people struggle. So many relationships struggle. So much bitching about your partner. So much horrible, relationships out there. And because we never learned. And so what I learned when I started opening my heart, which was a lot of through practices that I learned, like using some of the holistic sex tools that I teach my clients. And I realized that there was still a huge wall around my heart, partly because, I think I was independent for a lot of my life. And there was that belief that, yes, while I need to have a man or whatever I've been told, I also need to take care of myself. And I don't want to, give all of my vulnerability away. I need to protect myself. Like, what if something happens? I need to be able to just hop right back on my feet. And that is really no way to go into a relationship. Yeah. What do you know about having a guarded heart? And how it's helped you?
Well, I think for a man, or speaking for myself at least, I don't know if it was guarded or just never opened up to the degree that it is now. But, you just can't get close to people, and you are certainly less vulnerable and probably put on a little bit of a show as well. Not getting close, not letting people in, not letting your partner in. So that's kind of how
Yeah. It's interesting because I was recently on a podcast and they were sharing a little bit too about the conditioning they grew up with. So I grew up with a lot of that conditioning of please and perform and look pretty and make sure your partner's happy and whatever they want, just do. And then this man was saying he got the conditioning like, I needed to be like a warrior, and it was very dominating and, like hard and fast. And I'm like, imagine those two people never communicating.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's enjoying that relationship or the sex that's happening in that relationship.
And I grew up in a very patriarchal, old school, old world Italian where it was all about the man. So there was really no kind of real emotional connection to the woman. And hate to even say it, even a little bit objectifying a woman.
I think that's very common. And I appreciate you being vulnerable to admit that because it's out there.
Yeah.
What do you think was some of the practices that helped with the heart opening?
Well, I think, certainly the fears, loves, and desires practice is a good one. It's a great one. It puts you in a vulnerable position because your partner's not giving you feedback, which I think is great. You don't have to feel like you need to defend yourself. We do each one for about 2 minutes, but after the first 30 seconds of super easy stuff that you fear, love, or desire about your partner, then you got to go really deep. You really have to go deep. And that's where I think our heart is totally closed off. Like sometimes you don't even want to admit it to yourself, let alone admit it to someone else. But if you want to develop that deep relationship, you have to remove those onion layers and get deep. And so I really love that. And, it brings tears to my eyes almost every single time we do it because we go so deep with it. And that last 90 seconds is really where the growth comes from, I feel. That's a great one.
Thank you. These are a lot of the practices that I teach my clients so that you just learn to communicate really vulnerably and deeply, because that's a part of it. When you can really open up emotionally, there's that deeper heart connection that just starts to flow. And there's also, a lot of embodiment practices that we mix in with that. But I just want to share a little bit about, for those of you that might be curious, like what even is sacred sexuality? And it really views intimacy as a powerful tool of self-discovery. So that's what I love about it. You bring love, reverence, and deep presence to the process. And I think one of the things that I realized too, it really helps you understand the divinity of who you are, right? It's like really embracing the wholeness of who you are, all the parts, every part you've been taught to be ashamed of or turn out. And it's like really embracing all of it. And that's what helps you to then see your partner as a divine being, right? It's not just their mistakes or things that make you irritated. It's like the divinity of this person. Speak to that.
And we all have that divinity and we all make mistakes and it's okay, really, right? You have to do that with your partner, is to see all of that because, if you want a long lasting relationship, you got to open your shirt up and show your partner what you're made of and where you are flawed, and they're going to see it anyway, right? Partnerships, relationships, it's the mirror. Yeah. And so you're seeing it anyway. So I think it's really a crucial thing to be able to be vulnerable and open yourself up that way.
Yeah. And I think being able to really embody the different aspects of yourself, because the more that you can do that in a conscious way, the more they're not going to show up in an unhealthy way.
And we all have those dark sides. All of us have them. Many times they help us excel. But and I use this analogy a lot because I'm in healthcare, the medicine that helps us eventually develops a side effect that we don't want. And now those dark areas now can turn into a side effect, an undesirable result. And I think it's just best to uncover it, expose it, get it out there, be okay with it, know that's part of you, and then find a way to channel it or quell it or whatever you need to do depending on how it manifests in your life.
Yeah. Hey, it's Amanda. If you are enjoying the show and felt a connection to what we've discussed, and you're ready to take the next step in reigniting your passion and enhancing your relationships, I have something special for you. Visit www.amandatesta.com/thegoods, where you can subscribe to my email. And if you want, you can sign up for a free personalized sensuality discovery session with me. In this one-on-one heart-to-heart session, we'll explore your unique desires, uncover any challenges, and set a path for you to experience the vibrant, fulfilling love life you deserve. Don't let another day pass feeling unfulfilled or disconnection. Take action now, and let's start this beautiful journey together to fire up your feminine fire. Join me at amandatesta.com/thegoods. I'm excited to stay connected. Now back to the show. That brings me to one more point I wanted to make about the goal-oriented behavior, because we are really driven. And a lot of these things that we've been taught really do serve us in this world we live in today, right? It's very much about doing and producing and what's the end goal, right? And so often when we have that, that's a little bit of the way I work with a lot of visionary leaders, and there's that sneaky people pleasing that comes in because you want to do what you need to do to get to where you need to be. And oftentimes you have to play the game or say yes or overlook some freaking rude sexist remark or all the things to get to where you want to be, which subtly is this people pleasing that shows up. And it also, that goal-oriented behavior, while it can be, gets us far in life, it's actually not going to support us as much in the bedroom or in our relationship. Because when you bring that goal-oriented behavior to the bedroom, there's not the presence, there's not the connection, there's not the depth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's not the place to have a goal other than meaningful connection with your partner, not necessarily trying to achieve something that is, turned into a goal or to work or an end game or something like that.
Yeah. And I know you've done a lot of work around this for many, many years. And then when I started doing more of this work, I think it just reminded you of all the work that you had done. But the one thing is that, at first it can be a little clunky when you start to introduce changing things, right? And so I just want to honor that too, because maybe you've done things the same way for a long time and all of a sudden you're like, I never really liked that one thing. And so you got to have good communication in how you talk about it.
And I'll say for men, if you hear that from your partner, that like, hey, I never really liked that, don't take it personal. It's feedback that can be very beneficial if you really want to have a close relationship. So you really want to support your partner, but just don't take that feedback personal. I'll be honest, when we first started doing this, it's hard not to. You feel it. But now I don't really feel like I take it so personal, do I?
No, not at all. And because I think we really have learned to just be in the moment with the sensations, with what's happening in the moment, and communicating from that place, and doing a lot of work outside the bedroom on communication and holding each other through our ugliest times. Because really, that's the beautiful thing too about when you bring this wholeness of yourself to the bedroom, then you can have all of those different elements. It's not just like it has to look a certain way. Like you can have emotion, you can get mad, you can use all of this energy and make things more amazing. Right?
Yeah. And there is a lot of energy involved with it, right? So much sex and digestion, top two energy users of our body, of our nutrients, of our, life-sustaining innate intelligence. So if you can find a way to channel that and not react to it, it can be very beneficial.
Yeah. I'm curious what if there's maybe one or two tips you might have for the men out there around this topic that would be supportive around, just sacred sexuality, honoring that of your woman, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we need to, put aside the conditioning. We're all conditioned. The society conditioned us. My patriarchy in my Italian tribe conditioned me. And, as you kind of get older and you start to open up to new ways, you got to be open to changing those things that just really don't work anymore. So there's that aspect of being willing to grow. And if things aren't working out well, being willing to get the help that's necessary. I mean, if you had, a symptom of some other kind, you would go get help for it at some point, I would hope. And so I think, the openness and willingness to communicate with your partner, to be willing to change the way maybe that you've thought for 30 or 40 years. I think that's really important as a, basic beginning step. And I think with this work, you really need to step into it. You need to commit to your partner. You need to be able to ride your partner's ups and downs, which isn't always easy for me. But I think in the recent times, I've been more able to ride with those ups and downs and to embrace you instead of trying to fix something, rather just to support you, or just for me, shut my mouth because I want to fix, or I want to fight, or I want to correct. And that's not what our partner needs. I think we have way more harmony when I step in and embrace and support and, flirt with you and tell you how beautiful you are and, want to help you and, not let you do the dishes. I know you like to do the dishes and I just won't let her.
It's pretty hot when they come home to a clean kitchen, I will say. But I think too, a lot of this stems from, really wanting to have a good harmonious relationship. Like we want harmony. We want to have fun. We want playfulness. We love to flirt with each other. We just have a good time. And I want that for every couple because yes, life is hard. And yes, parenting is hard. And there's ups and downs. And I think too, we were just talking the other day, Mark had a stroke 4 years ago this time. And we were just like so grateful that we have each other and their health. And I think that too really, you don't want to have to go through something like that to realize how important someone is to you. But it really, it makes you realize how short life is.
Right. Exactly. And we do want harmony. Like, I don't want to live the last 40 years of my life in a crappy relationship. I want to have fun with you. I want to laugh with you. I want to grow with you. And I think just too many relationships, there's always a little bit of tension. Man, woman, husband, wife, I'm right, you're not. That just takes life energy away from you and wastes time. And that's just not what I want for the remainder of my life. And the harmony in your house and in your relationships doesn't have to be a tense deal. It's better to have more harmony and fun. And I know when we do that, I'm a happier person. And then everything spins off, right? I work out better, I eat better, I have better sleep. It's just all when that tension is gone from the one thing that is more important really than just about anything in our lives, it just makes everything else flourish.
Yeah. So I agree. And even we're not perfect, right? We have arguments. I've had a rough week and it's been, not always pretty. But I think the other thing we realize is if we make a mistake or if I yell or do something annoying, then I repair. Like we take a minute, we've realized like we just need a few minutes apart. Let's just all calm down and then repair. Like that's a really big important thing. Repair, go apologize, make it right. And, that's what we always remind each other. Like, let's be in love. Let's be in love. We want to be in love.
And it takes practice, man.
So
it just
practice.
takes practice. It's no different than working out. It's no different than anything. I can tell you how many reps to do, but you got to just put in the work. And it doesn't come overnight. And it's not totally easy. And you're still going to feel this inside that wants to bust out. Speaking for myself, I get a lot of relief when I yell. That does not go very far. And so I have been able to, I think, calm that down a lot.
Yeah. And we're human, right? We're not always going to be great at it, but you can actually take that energy and transmute it into just your life force energy. You can take that energy of anger and connect to it and let it fuel your body, learn how to work it through your system. So these are some of the things that make this work so applicable to everyday life. This is why it can 10x your life and your relationship, because you have tools to better honor the wholeness of who you are, to handle your emotions, to be fully expressed in and out of the bedroom, to really be vulnerable and creative. I think that's a big part of it. When you have this good free-flowing energy, you have more creativity. You solve problems more easily. It shows up in your work because you are more enthusiastic. You are in a better mood and everyone else benefits, right? So it really, there's a lot to it. And your kids get to see such a better version of you. Our daughter, I'm sure she gets embarrassed of us because we are sometimes very lovey-dovey, but I want her to see that.
Yeah.
Right. I want her to see this is what a happy relationship is. And she sees us argue too. She sees us fight and she sees us repair. And I think that's important for your kids to see as well. We are going to be normal. We're going to be humans. We're going to make mistakes and we make it right. And we come back to love because that's truly what this is all about.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm curious if there's any last words you'd like to say about this, babe.
I like I said, just step into it. It's not going to be totally easy. Embrace your partner. Let them know how you feel about them. Start with the things you can do immediately. And that's just like hugging people, your partner, telling them you love them, how beautiful they are. I think we just got to start somewhere, and you don't have to boil the ocean for it to be successful. And you can start as soon as you listen to this podcast.
Yes, little things, those little connection points. Make sure to take advantage of them. If your partner turns to you, listen to them. Put your phone down. Really respond to their bids for connection with love. And if you don't, apologize. I know I've done that in the past weeks too. And then I apologize. I'm so sorry I didn't, respond to you when you were trying to talk to me. I had a terrible migraine and I was in a bad mood. That was not okay.
And those apologies go far. They really do. We can repair really quickly when whoever apologizes. And you just realize, I love this person. They're human too.
We've come so far.
You're forgiven.
We've come so far.
Right?
That's just what I want to celebrate. We have come so far.
Because I used to like to let it linger for days and be in a bad mood and angry at you and not talk to you. And who's that hurting? Really, it's hurting both of us. But I would feel crappy. I felt crappy during those 3 days of I'm going to wall myself off.
Same. It's not fun to be like that. And it brings out a different version of you that is not the most attractive and something you want to connect with, right? So it's just kind of can be a cycle. So that's why you got to break it and reconnect and repair. So, and it is important because I'm said, the whole purpose of this was talking about how sacred sexuality can 10x your relationship. And what I want to say is what we're talking about with that is when you focus on the little things that make your life better, what is the 20% of the things that you do that make your life so much better? And I truly believe our relational experience is part of that. Because when your relationship is good, everything else is good. When your relationship is hard, and I hear this from so many of my clients that are very successful, they're great at work, but they're in their personal life, no. But it does bubble over. And it's really challenging to balance all of that, to switch gears and go from feeling happy and in your own energy to miserable and unhappy in your relationship. But there's things you can do about it. So if you're feeling stuck, just reach out. You can go to amandatesta.com/thegoods, and there's all kinds of great resources. Connect with me, and I am sending you lots of love. Thanks again, babe, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to stay connected, make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.